Okay, all 3 clocks that I can see at this time say 11 o'clock. And so I think we will go ahead and get started. Good morning and welcome to our virtual Oklahoma Education and Industry Partnerships Professional Development Series. I'm Karen Talbot, and I'm a regional coordinator at the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education. As a regional coordinator, we serve as liaisons between the state agency and our school administrators across the state. We just kind of want to give you a warning. We have had Wi-Fi and internet issues yesterday and today, and some of us are all in different locations. And so please bear with us, and hopefully it's not going to affect us all at the same time, because if it does, whoever is up next is just going to keep on rolling. And so that's what we're going to do. So please do let us know if you have some issues in the chat. We'll make sure that we get that addressed. Okay, at this time, we are going to share with you a video from Dr. Marcie Mack. She is our state director at CareerTech, and she is our 8th state director, and she brings over 25 years of experience, excellent CareerTech experience to her position and to the CareerTech system. All right, let's hear Dr. Mack's video, please.
I've had the opportunity to be at the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education for a little over 7 years and be a part of Oklahoma CareerTech for more than 25 years. Oklahoma is a leading producer of oil, natural gas, and wind power. The state is also home to growing supplies of solar power, hydropower, and energy storage capacity. These industries create thousands of jobs across the state and provide economic development to the state of Oklahoma. The way we produce, deliver, and consume energy is evolving rapidly thanks to advancements in technology. Old conventional concepts are being replaced with modern-day strategies driven by analytics and big data. For students interested in being a part of this great transformation, a career in energy would be very rewarding. Together, Oklahoma CareerTech, the State Department of Education, the Regents for Higher Education, and the Oklahoma Energy Workforce Consortium have developed a new career cluster on energy. This will be our 17th career cluster in the state of Oklahoma, and we've created it to encourage students to pursue careers in Oklahoma's energy industry, one of the biggest industries in the state. The energy industry is expecting a shortage of skilled workers by 2025. Our goal is to showcase Oklahoma's energy industry and the need to prepare students for a wide range of careers in the industry, with multiple career paths and on and off ramps that lead to rewarding jobs. The energy industry needs technicians, engineers, line workers, mechanics, managers, and a wide array of job opportunities. These are high skill, high wage, and in-demand jobs. And Oklahoma CareerTech offers students the training and skills they need to pursue a rewarding career in an evolving industry.
I apologize. I could not find my mouse and get it back to where it needed to be to unmute. Thank you so much. Yes.
We have several that are trying to get in or having trouble with the link. So people are going to be coming in. It's just going to be a little sporadic.
Okay. Thank you, Whitney, for letting us know. We apologize that they're having trouble getting in. So just come on in and we'll keep going. And remember that we have this recorded. And so again, that's another reason why we do that. We really appreciate Dr. Mack for her great words and leadership and for preparing this video. They are doing a rollout of the energy cluster, career cluster this afternoon at 2 p.m. And I think that we will have that link to be able to share with folks here just a little bit in the chat. Last but not least is our OEIP team members. We have Gina Hubbard, our Education Partnerships and Customized Services Division Manager.
Good morning.
We have Patrick Clannon. Delbo Leach is doing an accreditation visit, but he was part of our team to work on this, and Kara Pattison. And then also we have our other regional coordinators, Lori Loffer, Lori Broyles, and then Max McKnight. He is our Business and Economic Development Manager. And I didn't forget anybody. Andrea's not on here, correct? Okay, we'll keep on moving. If this is your first OEIP experience, we welcome you. This year, for the first time, we're offering the OEIP experience monthly in 1-hour sessions throughout the school year. Our goal is to provide insight for educators to better understand what industry needs are in Oklahoma and help provide resources to educators so they can prepare their students and help them develop a career path toward their personal success. Before we introduce our presenters today, we would like to say a huge thank you to our sponsors that have supported OEIP efforts this year. And we are excited to announce that we are providing a $50 gift card to a lucky registered winner participating in the session today. That participant, when they are chosen, we'll choose that at the end, and then that card will be mailed to them. So we'll be getting in contact with you to get that information. But our sponsors are the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission, the Oklahoma Department of Career Tech, PITSCO, Tech Labs, Meridian Technology Center, the Oklahoma Manufacturing Alliance, and the Oklahoma Business Roundtable. We're also fortunate and want to recognize some of our other sponsors that have worked with us that we're going to be on the call today. We have representatives from Kid Wind. We have representatives from Tech Labs. And am I missing anyone else that has joined us that was a partner this summer? Again, we very much appreciate their work. And so now we are going to climb into the program. This session today features wind energy programs at High Plains Technology Center in Woodward and Canadian Valley Technology Center in El Reno. Both of these programs begin in 2010. Our first presenter is from High Plains Technology Center, and it is Mr. Taylor Burnett. He has worked there for 11 years. As Assistant Superintendent, Taylor supervises the Business and Industry Services and the Adult and Training Development departments. In addition, he works with the Nursing, EMT, and Volunteer Firefighter programs, and also works with the IT division. Very busy individual. Under his supervision, this department trains over 3,000 people a year that want to learn new skills to further their career in their current field or in a different field, learn how to be safe in their current job, or a life skill just to get them further in their current career. Previously, Taylor was an area manager for Express Professionals for 13 years, managing both the Woodward and Clinton offices. Our second presenter is James Swaggart from Canadian Valley Technology Center Wind Energy Program. James was a wind energy student at Canadian Valley Tech in 2013, and after graduation, he went to work for Mitsubishi. He was an adjunct for Canadian Valley Tech by the end of 2013 and worked his way up in safety and training within that company and traveled all over the United States. In 2019, James was offered the Wind Energy Instructor position and took over this program full time. At this time, it will become the James and Taylor show. James is having a little bit of difficulty getting logged in. And so as we move through the agenda, Taylor and James are going to introduce their different students or talk about their advisory committees and the different pieces of their programs. And then we'll close out the session with some final questions, and then Taylor will announce the gift card winners. And we'll give you some last minute reminders. So we'll kind of let you know whenever James gets in. Again, all of our groups, some of them are having trouble getting in. And so we appreciate Taylor and we appreciate James being here with us. So Taylor, take it away.
Now's when everybody gets nervous. So, oh, there, James is finally, I see his face. So when, you know, you told you're going to co-host and it was going to be me by myself, I bet everybody got a little nervous and thought we'd have some moments, Max Headroom moments, like Dr. Mack earlier. So thanks for joining everybody here. Excited. One of the things I want to first say is my instructor's not here because all the credit really goes to Jack Day as well. He's our full-time instructor, as well as all of our other safety instructors that help out with the class. So, so we're going to try to stay on schedule as much as can be. James knows, and Karen knows, and Gina and Lori and Kara know I can get off track real easy, as Max is probably shaking his head as well. So we'll try to stay on task and on point. And according to on point, I'm already behind. But what I'd like to do is we'd like to show you kind of what like a climb is going to look like. We have one of our students that actually did a climb. We did it with a GoPro video. Our turbine that we have is a little bit shorter, but at that point in time, we'll show that, and I can talk during that just to kind of see and show you what an everyday life person will be when they're working. Maybe. Okay, so what you see here is our turbine is actually 125 foot tall. So it's a little less than half of what you would in a real environment. And the ladder's even a little different with the cable craft as well. Our student that'll be talking a little bit later, this is actually him. That's why I picked him, just to play a little bit later today. And I hope there's no cursing. I said that would be a must, you know, with these guys. Doesn't happen out in the field ever either. Right, Sean and James? So, but as you can see, you know, the climb is really important. The people that have never climbed before, what's going to happen is, you know, everybody tries to use their arms more than they try to use their legs. So these guys have actually climbed a lot before, so they're at least doing it the right way. And as you can see, when we're dealing with heights, the biggest thing that we start the class with is safety. So safety is going to be the most important. We put them through a lot of that off the get-go because, let's be honest, you're working almost 300 foot up in the air. You're dealing with electricity. Those are two crazy things. And he just passed the second section. Those towers, as you can see, are in 3 sections. The big turbines, you know, the almost 300 foot tall, they actually take breaks sometimes, but I'm sure not everybody does that. You can see he's actually climbing wrong there, using his hands more. He's not in the room yet, so I can bust his chops a little bit. But the first thing that'll happen is if you climb like that, is your hands are going to cramp and your forearms are going to cramp real fast. So there he is all the way up to the top. We didn't have him go out on top just because I didn't know what they would do from this point forward without someone else up in the tower. So we just did it this way. As you can see, he's going down. You can see how his hands are. They're just there for support, really. He's leaning the proper way. Because as you can see, that cable grab right there, you can catch if you're not climbing the proper way as well. And if you let go or his hand slip, it's just going to fall in place. There's a form factor that will be the catch. This is just the cable system. You also have different systems as well. And it's not like propelling. You're not pushing off. Back in the day, they used to attach skateboards to their back when wind started, and they would go down without hands. A little bit safer now. And as you can see, just our tower alone, this video is 4 minutes and 31 seconds. I told them they only had 5 minutes. Duke won, the other guy didn't make it in under 5. So, but that's a climb up and a climb down. You know, you could do this anytime between 4 to, depends on what, if you're on maintenance or troubleshooting, 4 to 8. But you could imagine what it's like climbing a real turbine. This is a real turbine, I should say, but not the 155.
Taylor, the question is, so the trip down is similar to rappelling?
Yeah, I answered that. It's not like rappelling, really. But if you vapor lock, like Max said, someone's going up and getting you, and you don't want someone to go up and get you a lot of times. So, Max, you can come out to Woodward, and we can see how, if you would be able to do it or not. All right, so that's the end of that. So, but that's a little bit about what you're going to be doing. I just wanted to give a visual, you know, what it would be like. Technically, a lot of what it's going to be like also, as well as going up and doing a lot of bolt torque and tensioning. We don't have time for that, but you can come out and see actually what an actual nacelle looks like in a hub on our campus, as well as an actual turbine that we have. But High Plains, we got into this 12 years ago, but 10 years ago, we started doing it ourselves instead of using someone contracted out to do it. And really why we got into it is because, let's be honest, Western Oklahoma, Northwest Oklahoma more specifically, is where wind really was kind of formed. We have the first wind site just outside of Woodward, Oklahoma. Everybody thinks it's in Weatherford because that one's more visual and visible, but no, it is actually in Woodward, Oklahoma, right outside of Moreland and Woodward. But so that's why we got into it. It was kind of a leap of faith back then. We took it over 10 years ago and kind of started our own. It's progressed, it's changed, it's gone forward. What we have now is a 20-week program that goes 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So it's 800 hours actual where butts are in seats. Some of those actually going on site and doing internships. That's changed a little bit due to COVID, but we have some stuff in place to where they can actually do internships on campus as well. We have an in-district cost and an out-of-district cost. We do 2 classes a year. We started this so long ago. We only took, you know, we were recruiting, we were looking for people 10 years ago, getting 3-4 people in a class. Now we are turning people away. Here we are 10 years later and doing two classes. We used to only do 1 class. So we are actually turning people away, just a sign of the times to where wind is getting more accepted in Oklahoma. You're talking about a school that really was founded on oil and gas, that still trains for oil and gas. So we understand how the two can get along, and we're appreciative that actual Oklahoma 20-week class, not 2-week class, 2 classes though. So you can appreciate now to where we are seeing how Oklahoma is actually embracing wind. So we put a little bit of precedence on our in-district students that apply because that's our sending districts. That's what we really are trying to do. Keep everybody in Oklahoma, keep everybody in our sending district, but there's not a ton of jobs a lot of times. It depends upon what jobs are open. So they're usually working all across Oklahoma and sometimes out of state, unfortunately, with that. But if you're interested in it, you can be directed at our website, hptc.edu. We do have a class that's coming up. We are finished taking applications on Friday. We already have a ton. We're scheduling interviews as we speak. It's going to take way too long, but we are up to where we're taking probably about 15 to 18 students is the max that we will take at a time. So unfortunately, some will have to be turned away. But at this time, now that I can see,
We have a quick question in the chat. What's the salary for these employees?
salary, I like to say, ranges from everywhere from $17 an hour to $25 an hour, depending upon what company you are, what experience you have. That's a starting technician. But the beauty is when you start with that, as James and Sean both know as well, that's just base, that's that non-overtime. So you're going to be working overtime because we're talking about machines. We're talking about equipment that can fail, that can go down at any point in time. That's how we were able to recruit one of our main instructor here. He got tired of getting the call at 2 o'clock in the morning because if the blades aren't turning, there's not money being made. But getting ready to do that, I see James and Sean, they're on my screen side by side. So James, I'm going to turn it over to you and you get to talk about what you have going on at Canadian Valley.
All right, thank you, Taylor. So our programs are pretty similar, I would say, to an extent. I mean, we teach the same thing. We thrive on safety. Believe it or not, I actually call and talk to Taylor quite a bit and try to get some ideas from him and try to work with him as well. It's just something that, as far as being two of the only, schools out here doing it, we like to, run some ideas by each other. But one thing that I do is I hold an orientation. So before they even come to my class, we have an orientation that I do in the evenings, free orientation, just to get people involved and see if they're going to be interested in this or not. We tell them the ins and the outs and give them the details. This is what wind is going to be like as far as the climbing, the cold weather, the hot weather out there, what you deal with in Oklahoma as far as insects, snakes, and stuff like that are around us. Things that we're all going to have to keep our eye outs for. Believe it or not, there's a lot of wasps in the summertime that like to gravitate to these things, and how we have to take care of that and how we have to take care of each other with that. One thing I actually took off of Taylor and them, he gave me the idea, is I actually have an interview process now as well, where we bring people in and just kind of have a one-on-one with them and see, get to know them, they get to know me, and it's actually a time where they can ask more questions, because a lot of times during orientation, they don't know what the right questions to ask at the time, but when they leave, they will write down a bunch of questions and be able to come sit with me one-on-one and actually ask questions to me. So that's something that we do as well. And then the biggest thing I'm going to say with our class is, I think, again, Taylor hit it, but we strive for safety. That is our number one concern when it comes for the OSHA compliances, the policies, and ANSI standards and everything that we need to follow. We definitely make sure that we hit those and as hard as we can. So our programs are a lot alike, but at the same time, there's some differences. My program is actually only, it's a month long. It's 160 hours. And we talk about that with our advisory committees. What do you guys want to see? So they make sure that they understand how to use the rescue devices properly. They understand how to climb properly. They climb a lot in my class, and they are competent climbers by the time they leave here. And we make sure that they just have all the aspects of the technical stuff as well. So how to use a meter, how to properly identify, the AC and DC circuits and how to test that stuff. So there is some technicalities to it as well. And actually, before I go too far, because I'll actually have some time to talk later, I'm actually going to introduce somebody that is going to, kind of talk to you about the in-class stuff. I see a question came up. How often do we offer the Canadian Valley class? I actually have 6 classes a year, 3 in the springtime and 3 in the fall. So with the next guest I have here is actually, this is a student of mine that came through the class back in January. His name is Vetiana. We call him Vet, is what he goes by. He actually works for a travel company called Harvest, and he's going to give you a little insight on the traveling portion of it as well. And he'll talk a little bit about what to expect in the class and stuff as well. And he is now actually, he's been in since, I want to say around March, April time. and he is now a lead tech 2 or project lead tech 2 and a Lotto 2 as well. So he has moved up the ladder pretty quickly and has got a lot of insight about the wind industry as well. So Vet, I see you're on here, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and talk.
Thanks, James. Hi, my name is Vetiana Paisupeno. I am currently with Harvest Energy Services. I've been with Harvest since I got out of wind school, and the knowledge I gained from school helped me tremendously out in the field. James is a great instructor, and everything I learned in class translated out here in the field, so I wasn't surprised by anything much, really. Yeah, this industry is it's pretty high pace. The traveling is well compensated. You are away from home a lot, 6 weeks on, 1 week off. But there is a lot of room for growth out here. I see a lot of fellow alums that have moved up as well in Harvest and other companies. We keep in touch regularly. It's probably the best decision I've ever made as far as a career change and choice. It wasn't very difficult to find work afterwards that compensated as well as we are compensated out here. Again, like the traveling was just something I was interested in, but you can get onto a site, but a lot of times they want you to have experience, so traveling is probably the best option, and plus you'll gain a lot of knowledge on different platforms. That helps a lot in this industry because when you are traveling, you're working on many different platforms with many different systems. So the opportunity to learn different towers are definitely there. If you align yourself with really good leads, there's great guys out here that will mentor you as well, but you got to be open to learning, and that's the thing. I mean, we're blue collar, so it's one of those things that you have to show initiative, or they don't really show you much, but yeah, that's how I moved up in my company, was just showing initiative, practicing everything I learned from CareerTech. Safety is a big issue out here, because everything out here wants to kill you up here, but it's a big issue in this industry is safety. We have to sign off on all kind of paperwork. I mean, it's pretty intense, but I enjoy it. A lot of my fellow peers enjoy it, and everybody I know that has graduated from CareerTech enjoy what they do as well. And that's all I can really say is, like, I was only put in this position because I went through that CareerTech program.
Thank you, Vic.
You're welcome. And then, sorry, James, I got to jump back in the hub. We're changing accumulators, so I just, came out here to speak to you guys and, wish you guys the best. And I'm rooting for all of you, whoever, whatever direction you guys go into. And if you come out into win, I'll see you out in the field soon.
I appreciate it, Vic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
So he's one that moved up, and he's very knowledgeable in the industry right now. He actually had about 4 different companies fighting for him, and probably could go anywhere in the wind industry right now. They know him pretty well. But I think next I'm gonna leave it to Taylor. I think he's got somebody that's going to talk on his behalf too.
All right, we have our climber. I noticed he's in the room. So that was Duke Kellen doing the climbing. Next time I'm going to expect 3.5 minutes, Duke, instead of 4.5. So, but you're going to have to unmute yourself. And what I want to do is I'm going to ask you some questions you can kind of answer, even though you're 2 offices away from me. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Duke.
I'm Duke Kellen. I'm currently enrolled in the High Plains Tech Center Wind Energy program. I'm being taught by Jack Day about the multiple systems of the industry, the turbines that is. I was formerly, and when I was in high school, I was in the welding program here and then graduated that, and tried going to college, didn't really work out. And then I decided this would probably be a pretty good fit, decided to try it, and loving it so far.
So what are some of your long-term goals, and what else brought you to it? Being a farm kid, maybe as well?
Yeah, I wanted to get away from the farm for sure. I've always wanted to travel the United States, kind of see what that's all about. And here they make pretty good money.
So you did mock interviews a little bit yesterday. I'd expect a little bit better out of you here, Duke, but no, I'm just teasing. So my question is what do you think your long-term goals are with wind?
I'd like to be a site lead at some point. I want to travel for a while and then find some place to settle down and see where I can go from there.
Okay. So what's the hardest part of the class with you that you've tried to, that you're grasping right now?
Probably the actual classroom stuff itself. I'm a pretty hands-on learner, and the computer stuff is just kind of new to me.
So the hydraulics, electrical, motor control, what's been the toughest one?
Mainly just the electrical terminology for the most part.
Okay. Because farm boys know schematics, so that's usually the hardest part
yeah.
for a lot of people. But. Okay. So, and one thing I will ask as well is, what you want to stay in Oklahoma? Are you willing to go kind of anywhere or what?
I want to go anywhere.
Okay. All right. And you heard Vet talk a little bit earlier. So as Duke is going to be first, a new hire. So he's going to be a new technician, and they only have so many spots for that. So there's not the seasoned people like Vet can go to a lot of places. So you have to kind of be willing to get your feet wet. There's not everybody that's going to go just out our back door and go to work in Woodward, Oklahoma. You have to know that you're going to be able to go a lot of different places. A lot of these younger guys like to do that, but that's why I always say, between James and I, a lot of times is we can feed off of each other. There doesn't need to be a ton of different company or schools doing this, just because there's not a huge need. In Oklahoma, you only have like 2 technicians per 10 turbines. Some are even 1 per 10. And then you have those subcontractors like that Vet's working for that are going out to spots and going all over, like you heard him say 6 weeks on. And then you get a little bit of time off and then go on from there. So, but Duke's a shining example. He is in welding. We went through the interview process. He knew a lot about wind as it is. Just because he was out here, and he's the type of student that you're looking for with a little bit of that FFA background, and that farm kid background, that farm kid mentality. But you can see that he can climb a turbine in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So when Max comes out, he has a time to beat as well. But so we'll go on from there, and then I'll let James introduce Sean. Thanks, Duke.
Taylor, we have a question in the chat, if you don't mind. Do you find that student athletes gravitate towards these programs, and how many female students do you have?
Well, look at Duke. He's definitely an athlete, as you can tell, but no, I'm a father of 3 daughters. When I go out and we talk about our program, when we talk about things, women are really a lot more patient than males, and so they can troubleshoot and diagnose things almost easier than, so I want the female. We have 1 female in class right now. The class that graduated before, we had 1. Class before that, we had 2. I think that it's anything that anybody can do. It's limitations that you set upon yourself. But I think that we should always have females prevalent in the industry. Some of ours in the past have actually gotten scholarships. There's a RISE scholarship that they have actually attained and applied for. And been presented for at the Oeip Wind Power Show. So it's something that is huge. It's something that's needed. I highly recommend. Now, student athletes, of course, you don't have to be a student athlete to be able to do this. But yeah, I mean, not really. It's more those adrenaline junkies, I guess, what we look at. And, you're talking to James and myself, who are in the middle of oil and gas territory. And we've seen so many people that have been laid off right now that these skills are transferable, into wind. So it's not a huge thing for them to be able to get. So that's why I think it's huge we are very grateful that we have wind, because if we didn't have this in Woodward, a lot of people even more would be suffering, because it's a deal to where they can make that smooth transition. And they're used to working and working hard. That's the other thing. There's spots and everything for everybody, but as wind technician classes go, you don't need a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree to get up there and climb 300 feet and do bolt torque and tensioning. So that's why I think what Canadian Valley does and what High Plains does needs to stay that way, and stay in our lane, I guess, in essence. And we've seen other schools try to do it, but there's not a huge need. So
Kathy Jackson, she put from KidWin, she put in our comments that one of the national organizations for females is WRISE, RISE, Women in Renewable Industry and Sustainable Energy. There's an Oklahoma chapter, and it's male friendly and encourages males to participate as members.
Thanks for bringing me to the carpet, Kathy, as usual. But yeah, so. All right, so it's kind of staying a little bit on track. What we'll do is I'll have go ahead and James introduce Sean.
All right, so Sean was actually my instructor back in 2013. He taught me everything to get me out in the field, and I spent 7 years in the field before coming back and teaching it myself. And now he actually comes up and he is helping me again when he gets the chance. And so it's kind of a full circle thing, but this will be our student athlete will be Sean. So we'll go ahead and let him speak to you.
How are you guys doing? So kind of what led me to this industry before I started with Canadian Valley was, just something that was always going to be there. Everybody needs electricity. It was renewable. It was new. I started with Vestas in 2007 out in Carnegie, Oklahoma is where I started. Worked out there for 4.5 years, and then, the job opening came up at Canadian Valley. So the kind of crazy part about that was during the initial, when the classes were getting started, the wind school was getting started, I was actually on the board for, what needs to be taught. And then 2 years later, I actually get to come up there and go to work. So it was a pretty cool thing. A lot of the stuff that I taught that I kind of brought with me from the industry was we added more hands-on for like electrical, like your lockout, tagout. We use your meters a lot more. And then I also brought in former students that were currently in the field. I bring them in and let them do a portion of the class. I thought it was the best thing. Them guys, were out there right then and there, coming and spending a day doing electrical, doing hydraulics, the schematic portion of it. I thought that was great for our students and kind of getting to know what they do, not just coming from an instructor, but also coming from people that are in the field. So I thought that was a great idea for the students. We when I started, we were doing the OSHA 30-hour course up there. We dropped that down to a 10. I think that was a lot better idea, just due to the fact we get more hands-on with electrical, hydraulics, climbing, and everything like that. And so any chance I get to go up and help James with the wind program, that's absolutely what, I try to do that. I still work for Canadian Valley, just do on the safety side now. So anytime that I can transition, go up there and help them out, it's a great thing. But it's a great industry to be in, and it was really good to me.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
One thing I will say as well is, wind is getting more accepted, and there's more jobs that are prevalent. The beauty about where James is and where we are is, what these wind industry has figured out is they were tired of also hiring people from, New York City to go work in, the Panhandle, Oklahoma did not fit. So what they've realized is hiring these small town kids that are used to small town living, it's easier because you're not going to live, Woodward's a thriving metropolis, El Reno is a thriving metropolis when it comes to wind. Amarillo is, I think, about the biggest city that has wind nearby it, honestly. So they were finding a lot of times they were recruiting these people and coming out and working, and they realized, hey, I don't want to live in North Dakota up here in, in the middle of nowhere. So they've realized as well that, hey, let's get these local areas, these local kids, these local people, that will stay. And so that's a huge thing that wind has taken on as well. Because when we first started 10 years ago, I know Sean can probably nod or agree or disagree, but when we first started wind, they always thought that you had to have a 4-year degree to be a wind technician, and it was the craziest thing. So now we've gotten through the heads of, Oeip, of these national trade organizations that you really don't. And, you need to recruit the type of people that are going to stay as well. So, but yeah, thanks a lot with that. Okay. All right. So moving on, I guess we will show now another video. I'll get Karen prompted up. Before we shot the video, I want to show actually Jack's picture as well. Well, you can do the video. I don't care if I threw you for a loop, but. So here's the video. You can go ahead and play it. This is what an evacuation will look like. This is what they do as well. This is when you definitely find out if you're going to be afraid of heights or not. And, we have them go up because this is the unfortunate side of things. If something does happen up tower and you can't climb down, you're going to have to do an evacuation. So as you can see, he's got the device. Our instructor's out there, and there's actually a person with him as well. And he's getting ready to do the evacuation. You can see how high up he is. You can see Gage back there in the back left corner. And there is a weight requirement because you can see all the equipment that you have to have because they're only rated for so many pounds. Yes. We do have students that start the program and decide it's not for them for sure. This is a good indicator real fast as well. As you can see, the derrick out there is probably about 180 foot. And the climbing tower, or the burn building, is 80 foot as well. So we have a 35-foot indoor climbing tower that they start in. Just find out if that's something, because there are studies out there that if they can climb 35 feet and do an evacuation, they can climb 300 feet and do an evacuation, because this is part of the job. I mean, this is something that they will have to do. This is the cool thing. This is when the students really enjoy it. As you heard Duke talk about the hands-on experience. That's what I also love about what Canadian Valley does and High Plains does, is we're not a death by PowerPoint scenario. We believe in doing the things to where you're actually getting your hands on things that you'll be working in and doing some troubleshooting. So I wanted to show the picture of Jack, though, because it's probably the coolest view, and you'll understand exactly what it's like. Because as you're up there, you can see all the way to Fort Supply, and you can see the turbines in the background. So,
can you see it?
No, it's too big. It's all right, no worries. So, but if you want there's the picture. So that's a great indication of exactly what's going on, and that's how high up they are from up above when we did the drone footage. Our instructor was a site lead at the Siemens site, and he saw a need when he was a site lead to say, hey, we need better skilled, better trained people. And that's one of the reasons why we're also able to recruit him off there as well. Because that's the other thing. It is a very physical job, as James and Sean can attest to. The life expectancy, you're not going to be working 25 years a lot of times. Now, if you have a lift, it might be easier, but it is very hard on your knees, your shoulders, your wrists, your ankles even, right, as well, James. So it's something that you have to get used to as well. But it's okay to be afraid of heights. You have to have a respect for it, is what we always say. As long as you have, and you have to trust in your equipment. I know that's exactly what James and Sean hammer on. You trust in your equipment, you're golden. And that's one of the hardest things in the world to do, is have someone climb up, 10, 12 feet in the air and sit back in that harness, on a lanyard, right? Get off your glide safe, get off your glide lock, and sit back and have to understand and trust. And that's why inspecting those harnesses is a huge piece that we teach as well. And our instructors actually inspect harnesses also for some wind industry people, because they're certified in that. And that's not always easy to do either. So, all right, James, I'll let you go ahead, but even though we're a little bit behind, so no worries.
All right, so I had a guy that was going to speak to you about job opportunities and stuff from his perspective, but he had a substation emergency and had to go fix something. So what I told him I'd talk about is kind of the advisory committee and kind of what to expect and what they want me to do to not just get them good students, but actually good technicians. So one thing that, we've talked a lot about the safety aspect, but there is more to it than that. One thing we do here at Canadian Valley is we make sure that they have good resumes also before they leave. We have a day where we spend in there, for at least a half a day trying to get them resumes built. Some of these are straight from high school, never built a resume before at all. So we try to help them get a good resume built. So kind of my background is I was in safety and training for most of my time in the field. So I was a technician, climbed up there, worked on things, but I also did training all over the United States, and I did EHS audits, safety audits and stuff. And so one of the things I have them do is I have them get in front of the class. I pick a safety person every day, and that person gets in front of the class and has a safety topic to go over, make sure that everybody understands what the safety topic is. And if we go outside and work on anything, I make them fill out what we call our JSA. So it's basically what the job description is and what we're fixing to do. And I make them fill it out, go over it as a team together, and work through all the hazards and how can we prevent all these hazards from happening. So we do that as a team as well. And it's just something that I started doing just to, I want to make this as much like working in the field as I possibly can. Not just a classroom, not just being in class learning, but actually being like we are in the industry working. So we come out, we talk about what we're going to do for the day, do the safety topic and stuff. But I also have a very, I don't want to say strict, like I said, it's a month-long class, but I do have a tardy and late policy. I've got to build people who are going to be punctual, make sure that they're on time. So if I send them to a company that says, hey, we need some technicians, I know they're going to be 10 minutes early. That kind of thing. I want people to show up on time, be here on time. Now we all understand things that do happen. People have, things that they have to take care of. That stuff's fine, but the not waking up late and stuff like that, trying to make sure we're getting there on time. So we talk a lot about that stuff as well. Something else I've started doing is towards the end of this, I also make them, give them a little bit of a topic, maybe fall protection, maybe electrical, AC or DC, maybe some hydraulic. I give everybody a topic and I make them come back and teach it back to me. Just kind of as a, hey, this is what I've learned, this is what I've picked up. And sometimes it amazes me to watch these students actually dive into a subject and take it farther than I even thought they would take it. So it makes it very interesting. It brings up more conversation, more stuff to talk about, and they get more out of it, I think. So just kind of, those are the things that, as far as the companies around here, they really like the fact that we try to keep it as much like a industry as we can instead of just a school and learning. So I think next is Taylor's going to talk again.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit and then we'll go into the questions since we're at that time. But I wanted to say, I tell every one of our students as well, when we go through the interview process, they interview with Jack one-on-one. He's former chief in the Navy. Integrity is a big thing. So we always say, hey, treat this as like a job, like James was saying, treat this as a job interview. This is a 20-week job interview. And we're going to, because our name's attached to them. They're making it through that process. Their name's attached to us. The coolest thing is, like you heard, Duke said, and you heard Vet say earlier, those guys that come back and seeing one of our former students that's a site lead coming back to hire our students because he knows what they're able to, the training that they have to be able to go out there and work in the field is the coolest thing in the world. And that's what we want, is that reputation, because before it was difficult for people to even get a job because when we went through this process, Wind wasn't hiring as well. Now it's a huge boom right now. You're seeing the construction phase starting to dip off in about another year, but right now there's wind everywhere. There was a report that wind did 80% electricity, I think last week is what I read on the Power Alliance's website. So that's a cool thing. Marcie Yates is really big with wind, solar, and hydro. We need to get that with oil and natural gas. Oklahoma could be the leader of energy when it comes to just natural gas and wind alone. So that's the cool thing about that. So yeah, soft skills are a big thing. They get, my background before was express. They get tired of me coming in there and talking about applications and what you need to do on interviews, because, not everybody went through that in FFA or in their high school. So you're training, you have some people that are all the way up to 60, as well as you have some people that are 18. So it is a little bit difficult as well. So yeah, Oklahoma Power Alliance. Yep. All right. So questions. I can talk all day if they want me to, that's no worries.
Hey, Taylor.
Yes.
So maybe it was Vet and a couple of others talked about like the travel part of it, 1 to 10 or 2 to 10. When they say travel, does that mean you leave kind of central or western Oklahoma and you go out and you're going to be there for a few years, or are you kind of traveling between different wind farms?
It depends, is what it does. They might have a different campaign. Like Harvest does different things in, say, an Airway that we work with, than a Renew that we work with. They all have their specialty. It could be a blade campaign, could be doing some commissioning. It could be, that's what but a lot of times you're going on a site when there's a long campaign, and there's subcontractors that have been sent to those locations, because you have an operation and maintenance that a lot of times when the manufacturers have for about 3 to 5 years, depending upon it. And then that runs out. And then at that point in time, they have people that come and work on them. So, you heard Sean say Vestas. Vestas is an actual manufacturer of turbines. So then you have Harvest, who actually works on them after the maintenance is over with, the operation and maintenance is over with. So you have a Siemens, you have a Vestas, you have a GE that are the big boys, kind of, especially in Oklahoma. We do have some Suzlon here as well, but that's that. And then you have these service companies that come in. OG&E might own a site, they're the owner, and then they might be Siemens turbines, but yet now you have Upwind Solutions working on them. So, it can get confusing. That's why you said, you heard James say Vet can kind of go anywhere because he's got his feet wet. Wind is still a small industry, because I guarantee you everybody knows his name and wants to try to hire him, especially the more sites that he goes to. It gets to be a little bit of a competitive thing like that as well. So to answer some of the questions, okay, OSU OKC does not have the program anymore. They do not have the wind technician program. So that's how it was. They had a certification as well as a 2-year program. That's where Kathy actually went through prior to that. So will we be expanding into the solar or battery storage? Battery storage is a huge thing. When battery storage happens, wind is going to take off even more. The first site that's going to happen that'll have all three, solar, wind, and battery storage, will actually be not too far away from Enid, in between Enid and Woodward. So it's going to be a huge thing as we progress. That's going to be the next big thing when we see, when we get into that. Do we get out-of-state students? Yes, we get out-of-state students. We get them from all over the place. James, you get all out-of-state students?
Yeah, and I'll kind of go back on some of your stuff to kind of alliterate, but yes, so we do get out-of-state students for sure. Like I had a guy from Florida that wanted to come up here because they don't offer it in Florida. So I mean, we've had people from all over try to come in. Texas is a big one. I'm sure Taylor sees that being up there by Woodward. I'm sure he sees a lot of them from that area as well. So we do see a lot of that. And then, like you said, with the kind of answer Max's question, a lot of those students are like Vestas, for instance. They're hiring people through a third-party contractor, basically. So the way that they do it is they hire them as a travel technician, basically under that name, and they have them as a travel, but they locate them to the Oklahoma sites. So you have to look in between the lines, and they try to put you right there at the Oklahoma sites, but it just makes it easier for them to do it through a third party, which is a travel company. So it just makes it a little bit easier that way for the company. Like you said, the solar thing is going to be the next big thing, and I've actually got the okay to actually say it. So January 1st, I'm adding solar to the end of my stuff. I haven't done a battery. We're going to do battery safety and some battery storage stuff. That's been a big hit for us and something that's wanted to be added. So basically, it's not going to take away from the wind. I'm still doing wind 100% of the time, but there will be a little portion of solar that I am starting to add to things as well. Just kind of, it's been a big thing that everybody's looking at. Like Taylor said, these wind farms, we've got one in Enid close to where he's at that's going to be doing storage and battery stuff with wind. So a lot of companies you're seeing what's happening is like wind is going out when they get older, or just their knees don't want to do it. They're wanting to be on the ground. They switch them to a solar farm through their company. So we're seeing a lot of that happening. And then I think you touched on the OSU OKC thing.
We actually started this through a grant 10 years ago that was solar driven. And we tried solar 10 years ago, and you should have seen the looks that we got. So I'm very excited, and we can try to help you with that, James, that you are taking that solar thing and running with it, because it's not happening in Northwest Oklahoma. We need to see that more on that eastern side of the state when it comes to renewable energy, because they're not getting as much, because there's not when they're not in that corridor, that Saudi Arabia wind in essence. So I think that's incredible, because that is the next big thing along when it comes with battery storage. So I want to, before I forget, because it's going up real fast, the winner of the drawing is, where was it? Courtney Norton. You're the gift card winner from Okmulgee. So they have your contact information. They'll be emailing you, and you can do the dance while you're emailing back. So love to see it. But no, if anybody has any other questions going forward, let us know. You can reach out to us, James at Canadian Valley or Sean at Canadian Valley, myself at High Plains Technology Center. I'm not the expert. Let lead follower get out of the way. When it comes to Jack Day, his knowledge is light years ahead of mine. So he is the one that runs this show. And my other instructors that are teaching safety as well, teaching GWO, are the instructors, because that's what really makes High Plains is, it's instructor driven, and with their knowledge base, like Sean and James, who are both in the wind industry. I've just attached myself to it. I wasn't, I've climbed turbines, but I'm not a former technician. But that's what we enjoy. Love to get the message out right now, because I think it's an important time for wind, and I think it's showing its value as well, while still showing value with oil and gas also, in my opinion. So that's what this state was founded on, and let's continue on with all of it. So all forms of energy, like the governor said, it's Energy Week this week. So yeah. All right. Well,
Excellent.
thank you. Oh.
Thank you so much, Taylor and James. I don't think Vet is still with us, or Duke, but Sean is. And so we very much appreciate you guys presenting to us. We know that we had you, get us some information and kind of did some talking yesterday to make sure we had all of our ducks in a row, or maybe all of our blades in line, and making sure that they were going to fly the right direction. So again, we thank you guys so much for what you do for the wind energy and Oklahoma CareerTech. I also want to say a quick thank you. Terry Beck was on with us earlier, and she is a huge advocate for OEIP. She helps us so much with registration, emails, and different things, and we just really appreciate her. Also, be sure and watch for our November OEIP as soon as we have a date confirmed, and we'll be posting that to our website there on the STEM website for OEIP. And just a reminder about the Energy Cluster webinar this afternoon at 2 p.m. They've got that information there in the chat for you as well. And if there are not any more questions or anything else, we so appreciate you joining us today. And again, huge thank you to our team, our CareerTech team that does so much to help us make sure that this works so well. So huge thanks to them. And thank you guys so much. Have a great day.